All right, and then let's share the screen and I'll take you to the MPA database. Okay, it should be visible for everyone now. So this is the home page of the database. And as I already mentioned, address mpas.helcom.fi. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes in the beginning explaining where you find the different things of the database in order to give a run-through for those participants who are not that familiar with the database. But after that, we're going to focusing on the functions as promised. When you click on the Sites tab up here, you'll find a table with all the sites listed. So this is the 174 MPAs that we currently have under the HELCOM MPA system. And you'll have them all listed here in a huge table. And I'll show the table as well a bit to the side. So there's a lot of columns here. This table combines the central information of all MPAs. So it doesn't contain all and everything. It's an overview table. You'll see, for example, if we take the first row as an example, MPA number 126, Davidsbanke. It's a Danish MPA, and this row contains all information on that. The status here, that has 3 different options, and I just want to mention what those mean. So designated means an MPA which has been designated to the HELCOM MPA network, but it's not yet managed. If it's designated and managed, it means that it has a management plan in place. And if it says designated and partially managed, then there's a management plan in place for a part of the area, or there might be several management plans. This just as a quick explanation for this column. Well, then I want to show you through one site. I've chosen to show you through one of the Finnish sites. It's called the Open Sea Area Southeast of Hanko. So you can either scroll down to it or then just search for it. And clicking on the name takes you to this page. And this page is now the place where we have all the information for this one MPA. It starts with a picture from the MPA, and you see a small text description describing the area. This is a new feature, the picture and the text. So this is not implemented for all the MPAs yet, but it's coming this spring. Under the picture, you'll see several headings, and these headings contain the information for the MPA. So general information contains, for example, date of MPA establishment, contains aerial information, it contains selection criteria, and links to other databases. The map takes a while to load, I see. When you open the map, you'll find that the map zooms in on the area in question, and it's highlighted in red. If you zoom out a bit from the arrows, you can see that it's located here in southwestern Finland. And this is linked to the HELCOM data and map service, so you'll find all the same functions as in the data and map service. The map itself has a lot of features. We're not going to concentrate on those in this session, but please do ask us if you have any questions regarding those features. Then you come to the Species tab, and here under the Species heading you'll find all the species that have been listed for this site. So for this particular site, there are quite a long list of species, and for each species you'll find English name, species group, and so on, information for that species. At the end of the row you'll also find links to the species information sheet on the HELCOM webpage and to the WORMS database outside of the HELCOM webpage. All tables that you see here that I open up are interactive tables, and this means that they are not just tables where you can read the information, but you can also sort and work with the information. And Sriram will tell you more about that. Then we have biotopes. It's a similar table as the species. You'll see that we use the HELCOM hub biotopes. We have both the codes and the biotope names. And biotope complexes are the third one, which is very similar. In this particular site, only one biotope complex is listed, the one for reefs. Then we have management and regulated activities of the site. And here you can see that this site in question has no plan, but it still has a few activities reported to be regulated. We are actually going to change this name to no plan, but containing restrictions to activities. When you click on the link for activities, it'll take you to another table where you can see which activities are regulated in this area. So, for example, navigation channels are partially regulated, and they are effectively enforced. Also, fish and shellfish harvesting, that means all kinds of fishing, is partially regulated. So this one is under the management table here. And I want to show you an example of a site that has, just a minute, which has several management plans. Here I've opened another tab. This is a Polish site, and this is what it can look like when there are, for example, 4 management plans for one site. And you'll see the status here. So 3 of them are in development, and 1 is already implemented. Let's go back to the first site, and I'll show you the pressures tab. So the last heading on the page is the pressures, where countries have reported from a predefined list what kind of pressures are present, either inside or outside the MPA. Outside meaning it's so close to the MPA that it has an effect on the MPA itself. And that is the information we have per site. Before I give over to Sriram, I still want to show you the tabs on top of the page. So, for example, the species tabs, when you click on that, here you'll see a list of all the species that can be reported in the database. So this is the list that the countries encounter when they start reporting their information in the database. Currently, it's about 200 species, but this spring we are gonna add species to it based on requests from the countries. So it's gonna grow a lot, and there's gonna be better possibilities for reporting species. This table is important if you're interested in information regarding a specific species. So let's say you want to know something about the taiga bean goose. Here you'll find it with both scientific and English name. You'll find that it's an endangered species according to the HELCOM Red List of Species. You'll find the link to the species information sheet, to the worms database, and most importantly, you'll find this show sites. When you click on that, you'll get a table which shows all the sites in the database where the species is listed. And from here on, you can then continue, either look at one site on the map, or if you go to the site, follow the go to the site link. Let's take, for example, this Pärnu-Lahe Estonian site. We click on the go to site, and then it takes you back to this place where you have all the information for this one site. And the same idea works for all links on top of the page. So biotopes has a big list of all the biotopes we use. Same for biotope complexes, and here you'll find all the pressures and all the activities. So I hope that you now got a quick overview of what the database is about. I'll land you on the sites table to start with. Before I give over to Sriram, I want to see if there's any questions at this moment. So if there are anyone with some questions regarding what I just showed you, now would be a good time. Okay, I take this as a sign that everyone's listening very concentrated and we can move on. So I'll give over the word to Sriram.
So, good afternoon to everybody, and thank you for taking your time to listen to this presentation on what are the different options available for the MPA database application. So, I will try to navigate through some basic features and also whatever is possible to do without logging in, because there are some special privileges for users after they log in, but we will try to go through what all is possible to do without logging in. So we will of course have time for questions at the end of each section, and then we can take from there. So if something is not clear, feel free to interrupt me. So the first thing I want to say is that this is just not purely a database application. It's a very friendly application with lot of possibility to do different visualizations and analytics in terms of getting whatever data you want, or even presenting it in visual format like graphs. And there are some basic graphs available with the default functionality, but it's possible to implement more sophisticated graphs, which I will also be going through during this session. Okay, so to begin with, I am in the Sites tab right now. And the first feature that I'm going to show you is a search feature, so a basic search feature. So I can search for any keyword in my table. Say it could be a site ID, or it could be a name, or it could be anything. So if I just say I want to search for a particular site ID, I just type the site ID 392, and you can see here that the search results in the particular site, and you can go to the particular site to get more details. So this is a simple search by keyword, or search by it can be number or text or whatever you want. Okay, then so whatever your search, whatever search you have done, this filter is this is a filter. So if you want to disable this filter, you can disable this filter, and till the session ends you will have all your filters available. So there is no need to again restart or reinitiate your filters. So filters are available, and of course if you are logged in, then you have an option to save those particular filtered data as reports as well. But we are not going to see that for the time being. So we are just going to see what all filtering is available. So now this filter is available. So I have disabled this filter. So I'm continuing to see all the sites. So the next option is filtering with your columns. So let's take the country column for example. So we have a bunch of options here, as you can see. So the first one is going to sort by ascending, the second one is going to sort by descending, so which means you can sort according to a specific column. And then it's also possible to hide the column using this option. I'm not going to do that. And you can of course use the filter individually on the columns as well. And there is another option here, control break. So I can, if I want to have a break after a specific column, a set of column, then I can use the control break. So if I use the control break here, we can see here that we have the Danish data here, and there is a control break after the Danish data, and you have Estonia here. So you have control breaks after each country, and you can do this kind of control breaks for different columns. This can be enabled on different columns. So this, of course, helps you when you are scrolling down when we have so many number of rows, and you still don't have the column names, but once you have a control break, you can see that you have all the column names visible, so you know which particular column or which particular field you're browsing for your country. So this is control break, so I'm going to take off the control break for the time being. Okay, so I've showed you basically the
choose one country, show that one too, from the country. So choose Denmark.
Okay, so this is basically filtering. So I have filtered my data only for Denmark, so I'll see only the Danish sites here, as you can see. So it's possible to filter with a particular field as well. So, and you can of course retain the filters if you want, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is about the filter, and of course you can sort by any column you want, so you can sort by any column, so that's possible, but I am going to jump on to the actions menu. If you have any questions on the filtering column wise, you can ask me questions later on. So, but going to the actions menu, so here it's possible to hide specific columns that you want. So you can, for example, hide this particular column. Say I don't want the date of last update to be shown. I press apply, and you can see that you don't see the date of last update anymore. Yeah, so we can do this for whichever column you want. So, and you can change the order of the columns as well. So that is about filtering, and it's also possible to set the number of rows per page if you don't want to navigate all the way. So then here in this case I'm trying to set the number of rows as 10, so which means I have 10 rows, and then I will need to navigate further to see my remaining data. So that is also one possibility to set the number of rows per page. Okay, so these are basic functionalities, and here you have another filter as well. So this is interesting. So you can do a column wise filter, which I showed you already based on country. So the same thing what I showed you with the column can be done here as well. So I can say country equal to Estonia, and if I do apply, I will see only the Estonian data, and this filter exists here. So now I'm disabling that filter. But another interesting part of filter is that it's not only column wise filtering, but you can do row wise filtering. So which means that I want to, for example, see the MPAs with large marine areas or and small islands or coastal marine areas. So I can do something like this. Say my MPA marine size is greater than 1000, and my terrestrial size, for example, is less than 3. So now if I do this row kind of filtering, so I will get only those specific MPAs, as you can see here, based on the number of based on the value that we have given. So we are seeing all the MPAs with the terrestrial size less than 3 kilometers square. So this is how you can do row-based filtering. If you have a lot of numerical data, it's possible to do different kinds of sorting with this option, different kinds of filtering.
Should we break for questions before you
Any questions so far? Okay. Any questions so far, or
Doesn't seem like it.
if there are no questions, then I will proceed further.
There's one question.
Yeah, there's one. You can hide a column,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you put it back?
Yes, can show you. So
Because even if I go
here,
back to the
I hide a column here. So apply. So this is no longer visible, and if I want to bring it back, so I go to select columns and I enable it back. So and I do
but
apply.
straight from the table here, and you see I have the table.
Mm-hmm.
So here I just hide, and I cannot do it straight from here. Even if I load again the page, I have to do it like you did. Okay.
For this session, it is set like that. So this particular session, you can of course do a reset. If you do a reset, there is an option to reset as well. So there is a reset
okay.
here. If you do a reset, it goes back to your default settings. So try to do a reset. Apply.
Yes.
So
Okay.
you
Yeah,
get
I
back
thought there
all
would
the-
be like a place where you could find the hidden column actually.
So just to make it clear to everyone else, if you hide your columns, you need to go to the actions and use the reset in order to get them back.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the next part of the menu. So here we have format. So we already saw the sorting with the column. So we have another sort functionality here where I can sort using multiple columns. So say I'm going to sort first by country, and then I'm going to sort by MPA name. So if I do this, so you can see here that I've sorted by country like first. So Denmark we have, and the MPAs are sorted alphabetically as you can see here. So you can sort with multiple columns using this particular data. So that's basically sorting, and control break, as I said, is possible. So it's possible to break after each country here. In this case, I've selected country, so I'm going to get control breaks after each. So pretty much the same functionality what we saw.
Show the control break with the multiple country coverage.
Okay, here I have enabled control breaks with two fields, country and coverage. So I have Denmark with coverage marine and terrestrial, and I have Denmark with coverage marine, so I can see them separately. So it's possible to have control breaks with different fields. And of course, if you have the filter, for example, say for example, if you have Estonia, you have the filter, so you can see. But of course, Estonia has only marine and terrestrial, so it's probably not the great example here. But yeah, that's possible with your control break. And next comes the highlight option. So here I can highlight specific data. For example, I want to highlight those areas which have exclusive economic zone greater than 50. So I can choose a specific color and then I can say here that my exclusive economic zone is greater than 50. So all those particular items with EEZ greater than 50 would be highlighted. So it's easier to get those get the specific MPA that you're looking out for in terms of the EEZ. So this is the feature where we can highlight any specific data that's interesting for you. Another option is your compute, where you can add 2 columns and see and you can create another column through different kinds of computation. So there are different functions and operators available. So we don't have a very genuine case here, but I'm just going to do, for example, if you want to sum up your territorial waters and economic zone, so you can sum up those 2 things, for example, and say something like this. So I created a new column, and it's going to sum up my, as you can see here, it's going to sum up my territorial waters and economic zone here. This is basically a computation. So you can do different kinds of computation. So, and if you no longer need the computation, then you can of course go and delete the particular computation that you don't want. So then it automatically goes away. Okay. Any questions so far? No questions. So let me move on to the next functionality, which is aggregation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose an aggregate function. So where I'm going to basically sum up all the MPA marine size for a particular thing. I'm going to sum up all the MPA marine size, and when I do this, so I'm just going to take Estonia alone so that it's easier to see this. So here you can see that the total area, the total MPA marine size for Estonia has been summed up. So this is the total marine size, as you can see, for Estonia, and this can be seen for individual countries, and it can be seen for all the countries together. So if I take this one away, and then I can see that the total MPA size, of course in this case because we have the control break, it's like that. So let me get rid of the control breaks as well, and now I will see a final value for the MPA size. So this is my total MPA size, which includes all the different countries. So this is how you can aggregate your MPA size, or any other field for that matter. Any specific thing that you want to know more with this functionality?
Remember to turn on your mics if you want to ask some questions, because we don't have the visual contact right now.
So I would have one question.
Yes.
You said that when you want to put back a hidden column, you should choose reset. But if you put reset, does it like reset everything, all the different sortings and filterings that you have?
Yeah, it does. It does. Reset would restore the default settings. So I would recommend you to use this particular option where you go and select columns and restore it back. And another thing I want to say is that the filters are valid only for this particular session. So if we want to, of course, save these filters permanently, then we have to create what are called as reports, for which you will have to log in, and there is another menu item coming here called as save report, which means that you can save all of those filtered reports and view them whenever you want to.
Was there another question?
So did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. So moving on, there are other functionalities with aggregation as well. So for example, the count functionality. So I can count, for example, how many, like the total number of any field for that matter. In this case, I'm just saying status, and I'm just choosing a country like Estonia. So I can see here that totally there are 7 different sites in Estonia, and basically which means that there are 7 designated and managed, including designated and managed and designated, there are 7 sites. I can also count the distinct type of status that we have. So if I go back to aggregate and I delete this one and I create a new aggregation, so I go to aggregate and I select count distinct, so which means I will know what are the distinct types of sites that I have in Estonia, and if I choose status here and apply, I can see that the count is 2, which means that there are 2 distinct types of sites in Estonia in terms of the status, and that is designated and managed and designated. So you are able to, if we had one more option, then we would probably, that would probably shown, but I think there are only, none of the sites have all the 3 options. So here you can see that there are 2 distinct types of sites in Estonia, designated and managed and designated. Similarly, there are other functions that you can do with aggregation as well, like minimum, maximum, and median. So if I say, let me choose minimum, for example, and let me choose MPA marine size, for example. So if I see here, I need to delete the first one. Okay, so now I see a minimum functionality to say that the minimum MPA marine size for an Estonian site is the specific site, Hiiu Madala, and the minimum size is 78.29. So this is the smallest MPA, the MPA with the smallest marine size, MPA marine size. So this is, for example, the minimum functionality. Or I can similarly use the maximum as well. So I can choose, for example, the site which has the maximum exclusive economic zone. So I go here and see that there is that the maximum exclusive economic zone is 42.99, and that is for this particular site, Kurakuk. So that is something, and of course there is median as well. So you can see here that there is a median functionality as well. Okay, so this is the aggregation options that's possible to do, and then we have a chart option. So here for chart option, I will do something. So I will take a country and the MPA marine size for each country, and I'm going to add up all the MPA marine size, and I'm going to show here. course, I'm filtered. I've taken off Estonia now. So I can see here that I will take off EEZ as well. So I can see here that these are the total MPA sizes for each country. So Estonia has a size of say 5,996.92 square kilometers, and so Denmark has probably the largest. And I can also use a different kind of representation, so which means I can choose, for example, a histogram. When I choose a histogram, I can see that the MPA marine size, for example, for Denmark and for the other things on. So these are some simple kind of charts you can generate. I will be showing some other charts or some other graphs that's also possible to generate, but these are the default charts available within the system which you guys can automatically do. But there are some other charts that we can develop, like multiple three-dimensional and stacked charts. I'm going to show you that one as well. But that is something that has to be developed by the application developer. So this is the chart functionality, and then we have some other functionalities like group by and pivot. So pivot has to specifically be enabled for the fields, but here I have enabled pivot for two fields, country and status. So I'm going to choose the two columns here. It's possible to enable the pivots for all the tables and columns, but currently it's enabled only for this. So if you people feel it's interesting to do these pivots, it can be enabled in the application for whatever fields or whatever tables you want. So I'm choosing a country here, and I want to count the different type of status, and I want to say number of sites with different status. So with or you can say just say status, for example, so whatever label you want to give. So if I do this particular thing, you can see here that you get a nice pivot with which shows that we have different countries, and you have the number of sites in each category. So you have designated and managed, designated and partly managed, and you can see how many such kind of sites you have for different countries. So Finland has 21 designated and 12 designated managed sites. And if you take Sweden has 4 designated, 21 designated and managed, and 3 designated and partly managed sites. So you can get these nice kind of information directly from the pivot. So you can create different kinds of pivots, whatever you want to, once we enable that option. But there is a similar, and you can of course sort the pivot as well. So you can sort it by country. So here I'm just sorting it by country. So I can see that it's sorted by country. Okay, there is another option. So somewhat similar to pivot, and that is the group by option. So I can do the same thing. I can group by different options. So I can say a country, and instead of choosing sub status, I try to choose coverage here. So you can see here that I have the counts coverage wise for my country. So for Germany, for this thing, of course, this can also be sorted. So I do group by sort. So I see here that I can get the number of marine sites for Denmark, the number of marine and terrestrial sites for Denmark. I can get these kind of counts separately. And remember that it's possible to group by multiple columns. So you can add multiple columns and you will get the individual counts for different things. So if you want to add one more column for status, then you can get the count by status as well. So if I say count and if I say status, so you can see that I also have like now count by coverage and by status. So I have 4 sites which are marine and designated, and there are 20 sites which are marine and designated and managed, and same thing for the marine and terrestrial. So you can add more information whatever you want. So this is using the format option. Reset, I've already told you what's reset, so resetting back to your default settings. And then flashback is going to provide an option to see if you have executed some specific queries a few minutes ago. It's possible to select which queries you want to re-execute. So you can re-execute those queries using flashback. And so next comes the download option, where you can download this whole thing report as a Excel and then play around with it offline if you want. So if I click here on a CSV file, so I have a CSV. So I can see that I have now this specific report that I have generated as an Excel file. So it can be downloaded as an Excel file. But it's also possible, of course, to go to the original table, and for this also you have the download option. So you can pretty much download different kinds of Excel information that you want if you want to do any offline analysis. But all the functionality with Excel you can do here itself using pivots and using group by. So these are the functionalities available for any user without logging in. So without logging in, he can do all these things. You don't need any exclusive login. So of course, when you log in, you have some additional options where you can save your reports, and that means that next time you log in with your username, you're going to see the report. You can choose that report. And understand that this report means it's going to dynamically be updated. So if your data in the database is updated, the report is dynamically updated. So it's not like playing with an Excel where you have to every time go and get the data. So it's basically refreshing the data all the time from the database and providing the information. So okay. Yes.
I see that we're very well ahead of the time, so I'm going to take the opportunity to show you a few additional things here before Sriram continues. Once you now got to know all the functions of the database, I want to show you the few functions that are already built in. So here, when we are at the very same Sites tab, up here you see 2 buttons. One says View MPAs by Natura 2000 status, and the other one is View MPAs by National Protection status. So these are something that when you click, you get a result directly. So this table tells you how the MPAs in the database overlap with Natura 2000 sites. You have the total counts here, and as always, the show sites takes you to show the sites in question. So here, for example, we have 12 MPAs that are not overlapping with any Natura 2000 sites, and as you can see, many of them are the Russian sites. Of course, none of the Russian sites are Natura 2000 sites, but there are also some sites in Denmark and Finland and Germany and Sweden, and in Lithuania, I see. So this is one query that is already built in for you. Now, the numbers look very big because one Natura 2000 site can be very small compared to a HELCOM MPA. So this calculation is based on how many separate Natura 2000 sites are reported. We have also built in another query, which is the national protection status. And here you start by choosing a country. Let's say we want to look at Estonia. And here you'll see all the different national protection areas. Actually, let's take another example. Let's take Finland, because I think, yes, these are in English. It's a bit easier to understand. So this shows what kind of national protection is available in that country which are overlapping with the MPAs. So the HELCOM MPAs often overlap with national protected sites, for example, nature reserves or national parks or strict nature reserves. And this information is valuable if you're interested in knowing how strict the protection is in the area. So that's why you might be interested in this table. Now you can see that, for example, there is 5 reserves established in privately owned areas overlapping with HELCOM MPAs, and this is for the Finnish site. And here again, clicking at the show sites, you get the table of the sites. It is possible in the future to build in further queries at these kind of ready queries in the database if there is something specific that the countries would need. That's just something I wanted to show you as a further information you can get out of the database.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Janika. But before proceeding with some additional actions that we have developed and that could be developed, I'm going to show you a multi-stack graph that we have developed, but it's not visible to all users. We've hidden it only for admin users, but this is going to tell you that we can generate these kind of graphs if you need them. But before proceeding there, I want to take this opportunity to ask you if you have any questions right now. I'm sure that you will need to use and play around with the application, and then you might get a lot of questions. So you are more than free to contact me if you have any questions or any queries. So I'll be more than happy to answer that. But if you have any questions, you can still ask me. No questions? Okay, so I'm going to log in now and I'm going to show you something here. So here now I'm going to show, you can see some additional graphs here. So we have created some additional graphs, for example, where we can have multi-dimensional graphs like this. So where we have management plan status per country and then biotope complexes category per country. So you have the different categories of biotope complexes, and you can see how much of those we have in each country. So you can see that for Denmark, the coastal and halophytic biocomplexes account for 40%. So 40% of the biotope complexes are coastal and halophytic. And if I take Latvia, it's only coastal and halophytic. So and similar distributions for all. So it's possible to generate these kind of graphs in future if it's needed for any specific part of this database that you need. And here is another example which shows how many management plans are in development and implemented in the case of different countries. So for Finland, we have 12 management plans that are implemented, and there are 6 which are in development. So it's possible to do these kind of different kinds of analytics and different kinds of graphs if required. Okay, and the next thing is that all these, and remember that all these information is going to be refreshed online, so which means that this will be updated as and when the database is updated. When you're going to enter new data, so all those will be reflected here. And then we are also planning to add some additional tabs for management plans, because currently it's possible only to view the management plan information site-wise. So currently, to view the management plan information, we have to go to the specific site and see. But what we are going to do for the next enhancement is we're going to bring a new tab for the management plans, where you can see all the management plans irrespective of the site name. So for all the management plans for all the sites, and then it's possible to check them, filter them based on the date of implementation, or based on their implementation date of the first management plan or current management plan, or based on some other information. So that is something that we are planning to implement. Apart from that, as Yanika pointed out, we have already implemented possibility for users to upload information and text. So here is a possibility. If you are a user, it's possible to add your image for your site and add the textual information that you need. So it's already implemented. So it's just that the file, you can choose the desired file and the text that you want to enter. Because currently we've got only the file for one site. We showed the same for site 392, which was Hanko, I think. So
yeah.
So, but you should be able to do this by yourselves. So yeah, so that's what I had at least. But I want to ask you if you have any more questions. And in the meanwhile, Yanika wants to present something. So
yeah, just to wrap up, we are going to have ample time for questions if you have any. But what I want you to take away from this is that when you need to do any calculations in the MPA database, you need to remember the actions button here. Action button and all the features under that, which Sriram just presented. That is what you need to have. I'll just log out so you see it the correct way. And then the other thing regarding, Sriram mentioned logged in and not logged in users. Login is available for each country who provide information to the database. There will not be logins for anyone else, because the logins actually they have the possibility to modify the data. So login is just for the country users who are logged into the database. And finally, as mentioned, we are still developing the database, and final enhancements are to be in place by end of April. And we're very glad to get any feedback. If you don't have it now immediately, as Sriram said, it might come to you when you start to think about the data. You can always email the Secretariat, either myself or Sriram, or basically if you don't remember our addresses, just email people at the Secretariat and the email will come to the correct place. And finally, remember that even though we were now playing around with one table, with the science table, you can do the same thing with all the tables. So you can go to the species table, I'll just show it here. So you can, all the functions work in the species table, in the pressures table, whichever tables you want. Of course, the numerical functions only work for numerical data. Questions?
yeah, so I just wanted to show you the findings for people who will be logging in and who will be entering data and will be saving. So they have this particular option, saved report. So which means that they can, whatever filters they have created, and they have the reports, those reports can be saved for future viewing or for future use. So this is some option available here. So what I would just show a simple example and I can delete the report. But so I will filter here by country. I will filter by Estonia, and now I can do is I can save this report. So say something like so I can just save it with Estonian sites, and so here you see that you can see this Estonian sites, which is a particular report, private report, which is available for admin or for any user who is logged in. But then the primary report is basically the default report that is available. So this is available, but whenever you want to view your report, you can go here and view your report, whatever you want to.
Is this, you said it's visible for all logged in users, so this Estonian report would show to all others too, not just you?
No, I think now this is actually a private report. It was created as a private report. So I think if you create it, if you want to, it's possible to enable the report for everyone, as we have done in the species and site. So if you go to the species, you have like multiple reports here. 1, 2, 3. If you have 4 reports, and these reports are all accessible for users. But for the other case, we created it as a private report, so it's only available for that user.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, are there any questions?
I see a big silence, so I hope everything is very clear. Yeah, but I totally understand that you might need time to play around with this and try to use this, and then you might come up with questions. So I encourage you to play around with the application and use it more, and then you can of course come back to us for any questions, and I will be more than happy to conduct any other sessions or any new sessions if required. So it's not a problem at all, but I hope it was useful for you and interesting for you, and I hope you can get more meaningful value out of the data that we have. So
I would like to ask at this point, I see that there are not that many questions. Is there any feature you would wish to see in the database?
I have one thing.
Yeah, Marie, please.
I'm very impressed with all the things that the database can do now. I was just wondering, you showed us how we can see if you choose a species, you can see all the sites that the species are at. I was wondering, is it possible to see it on a map? Because it'd be quite interesting to be able to see the distribution of the designated sites. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you're not the first one asking for this. This request has already been asked by Finland as well. So we are working on this currently. That where we have the show sites link, that next to that we would have a link saying show sites on map. And that would take you to a map where you would see the sites where the species is present. At this moment I can't say whether it's doable or not, but we are looking into it. It comes down to how the database queries can communicate with the map tool. But this has certainly been heard.
Thank you.
Any other features that you think would be useful for you as users?
This is Tilly Thorsen. I have more of a question, a general question, than something specific maybe to the tools. I have to say, in overall, it's a very impressive database that you have worked on. I have to say it's very, very useful and will be very helpful in terms of getting a more visual understanding of how the MPAs look and what the status is. I was just curious to know how the criteria is set for what you say the status of being managed or partially managed or just designated. Is those criteria listed somewhere, or maybe I just missed this in the presentation?
No, you didn't miss it. It was a good question. So the criteria is whether there is a management plan or management measures which have been implemented on the sites. So each country provides the information themselves in the database. That's why they have the logins and access. And if they have a management plan, they will go to the management plan section under the site, and there they will inform, okay, this site has a management plan and it's implemented. They will also give the date when it has been implemented, the date when it will be renewed. If you browse under the management plan section, you'll see all of this. And also, actually, I will show you, as we are speaking, I hope I'm still sharing my screen. Yes, I am. Let's go to a site. So here we are looking at the management plans and regulated activities of Davids Banke. And here you see the primary report. But again, go down here and open management all information, and you get all the information here. Now I can't fit it on my screen, but if you look on your own computer on this screen, you'll see that there's a lot of information for each management plan. And this is how the status is then decided. For example, this site, you can see now management plan status is implemented, meaning there is a management plan for this site. When you look at the sites table, here's the same site, Davids Banken, and the status is designated and managed. So if that management plan would be only in preparation, that would say only designated. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you. But then, do I understand correctly then that this is very national based in terms of what is a management plan? So these will be very different and not a coherent understanding of what a management plan is then for the different MPAs.
Yes, it's nationally based because all this information is on a national level. That's why it has to be nationally based. We have guidelines which you can access on the first page of the database, where we are guiding the countries on how they should enter data into the database. And this is our attempt at making it as coherent as possible. And in HELCOM we speak about management plans or management measures, but you're correct in the assumption that they will be different between different countries.
Okay, thank you, Jannica.
You're welcome. Are there any further wishes or questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ville.
Yes. I have a question. Would it be possible to find out the percentage of marine area protected in each country from MPAs?
Sorry, it's a bit. I'll try to get the volume a bit higher, but I wonder if it's.
Okay, I'm going to repeat.
Yeah, please repeat the question.
Yes. Would it be possible to find out what is the percentage of marine area protected in each country? Like,
yes.
Yeah. Is there already a feature that shows that somehow?
It should be possible with the existing information itself, I think.
Yes.
So
you should do control break per country, and then sum up marine area. Shouldn't that answer it? Let's try it. Compute the area. If you want to have it by country, then you need to.
Okay.
Oh, then you get one country at a time.
Let's do it for one country, for example.
Yeah.
Let's take Estonia, and then
marine area.
You want to sum up all that?
Well, some marine area, yeah.
No, but this is more computation again, so.
I think you have to go to aggregate and sum. Okay, so now regarding your question, here you can see all the Estonian sites, and Sriram points with the arrow in that place exactly. You can see the total marine size of all the Estonian sites. You can then filter by each country. You can also do a column break. Does this answer at all what you asked?
Well, partly, because what I was after is that do you have somewhere summed up the actual area of territorial waters of each country, so that I could compare this MPA size to that and then get the percentage of the area of territorial waters under protection?
We can sum up the territorial waters also separately, for example. So if I aggregate the territorial waters, okay, so now I have the sum of the territorial waters. So
you just divide.
yeah, so we need if you want, you need to basically divide.
Yeah, you need to calculate the percentage yourself. But I think this could also be done quite elegantly in the pivot table.
It can be done in the pivot as well. Yeah.
So you could use the pivot table for calculating territorial waters per country. And as Sriram said, you can add several columns to that, so you could also have MPA marine size per country. And that would give you the numbers you need for calculating the percentage.
Yeah, but it's also possible to do this kind of like write a query, or if you want to generate it and show it graphically also. So for example.
Okay, well, what I was actually after is that this is of course just the protected area of the territorial waters, but what is the area of the whole territorial waters of Estonia, and how does that compare to this area of the protected part of that?
Okay, now I understand what you're after.
Okay.
Yeah, that information is not available in the database currently, because we only have information within the MPAs. So we don't have information on the total territorial area of Estonian waters. You would have to go to the map service for that and download the shapefiles and then do the interpretation in the shapefiles.
Okay, thank you.
If it's possible.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, I will stop the recording and the presenting now. Just a minute.